Scarves and Spikes out here for 3 takeaways after Atlanta United's 1-1 draw against FC Dallas. Jackson here, Tyler here. Look, guys, let's start off with takeaway number 1. We need this team to take some shots. Shots.
Little John, and we need him.
For real. I mean, look, this team, it surprised me the amount of times I just found myself saying, just take a shot, try it, test this goalkeeper. And we even had the kids below us yelling, like, take a shot. Like, I'm losing my mind here, but it just feels like the team is not taking the shots that they should. There's opportunities where we need them to take them, and maybe they're taking a little bit too long. They're taking an extra touch. What do you think, Jackson?
I think it's been a little too timid. I think that the only person who will just wind up and unleash one is Latte Lath. We saw him try a few times. He had a few shots get blocked, and he was playing a little bit wider this match, which kind of limited his shooting ability from the side. But yeah, I think they're looking for that perfect opportunity, and perfect opportunities are really hard to come by, especially when you're crossing the ball in the box and there's just no one there. When the chance is there, you got to take it. Or even like you said up in the press box, you have to test the goalkeeper. You got to make him nervous, make him aware. Like, you need to get, and especially getting the fans into it, you need the team on your side. You need to try some of these shots, test out your opponent, and then see where it takes you.
Tyler, how many times was one Atlanta United player at the top of the box with a little bit of space and avenue to shoot, and we just didn't see that shot fly?
I mean, it's multiple, and I think when you look at the way that this game played out, and it's kind of been a thing all season long. Jackson mentioned it perfectly, but what you have is, they do well getting into the final third, and then when they get into the final third, it's almost like they're looking for that very specific, very kind of quick through ball over the top to one of the wingers coming inside or whatever. It's almost like they're looking for something that's too perfect, and at times you have to test the goalkeeper. If it gets blocked, it gets blocked, but change it up a bit. Take the shots, from the top of the box, from outside the box. Give the defense something to really be concerned about. And I think it's just you got to be more consistent with making the threat come from everywhere. So yeah, I think it is frustrating. Shout out to the kids below us for sure, because they were all about, like, by the 70th minute they were like, somebody shoot the ball.
35 yards out.
Somebody shoot the ball.
It was all of us.
But there is something to be said for it. I think you don't want to force things, but you do have to be a little more unpredictable. So I think you have the guys that can take these shots, right? Like, it's not just your front main four. It's not just Latte Lath. It's not just Miggy, who I would love to see take more shots from outside the box. You've seen Slish do it on occasion. You've seen Miyama do it on occasion. To be fair, Shande Silva, he took a good one from outside the box early in the first half, but then it just kind of died off from there, and it seemed like they were just really trying to look for that perfect ball. So be more unpredictable for sure.
Now, takeaway number 2, the tempo. Now, Tyler asked Ronnie Dyla a really, really good question about the tempo of the game and how it's being judged at times, because it feels like that might partially be part of the reason that Atlanta United tends to kind of lose its leads and tends to not be able to manage the results of some of these games. Jackson, what do you think about the way Atlanta United handled its tempo in this game?
I think we've seen in each of these last 7 games, the team puts their foot down on the gas and doesn't let it up until they're tired. And once they're tired, things start going awry. And you start seeing a lot of these individual mistakes, the lack of concentration, slower decision making. And when your only speed is 100 and you can't control, dialing back down to maybe 75, you're going to go from 100 to 0. And that's when I think a lot of these problems start getting. You start giving away a lot of these easy chances. You start the defense can't track back and cover Petar Musa, who, despite having his first shot blocked, no one was there on his second. And so, yeah, being able to control the tempo, like, kind of the difference between, like, running a marathon and running a sprint. You have to control yourself enough to be able to see out the marathon. And if you don't do that, you leave yourself exposed. And I think we saw part of that tonight, and we have seen it a few times so far this season.
And that can particularly be a problem as we're starting to see some of these frequent injuries come up within the squad, because we know now, they're being pushed even more in training, right? The intensity is going up, and that's caused kind of this multitude of injuries that we've seen to start the season. Tyler, what are your thoughts on how that tempo is being managed?
I think in an ideal world, the way that Atlanta United plays would get you 2 or 3 goals right early on, and then you can dial it back. You can try to focus on your defense, sit back, don't park the bus, but you can kind of take your foot off the gas a little bit, and then you rely on your midfielders to slow the game down even more when they need to, pass it back, control the ball, build up possession. But the problem is, like Atlanta, like Jackson said, pedal to the metal, 100 miles an hour, and yeah, you get a goal, you earn the penalty, right? Miggy scores, great, you're up 1-0, but then you keep pushing, and you're doing all the things right, like you're pushing really hard, right? But you're not able to, uh, get that insurance goal, to get that second goal, or even third. Um, so then what ends up happening is by the 60th minute or so, everybody's, I think, starting to struggle. And I also think there's a little bit of a pressure there to, like, we have to go get this goal. Like, we're running out of time. Like, we just have to do this. We have to do this. And so my question to Dial was about, like, in those situations, like, how do you feel that the midfield controls the game? And he said he thought that they do it well. My opinion, and it's not disagreeing with Ronnie, but my opinion is like this game in particular. Dallas comes in, and the 60th minute they make 3 attack-minded subs. Atlanta has made none at that point, and they continue to try to play that fast-paced attacking soccer right off the bat. They don't control the tempo. They don't just pump the brakes for 5 minutes and like let the game settle back down from the subs. They don't do any of that. And then what ends up happening? They play a ball out. It gets turned over just short of midfield, and it's coming back the other way, and it's a goal. I would like to see the midfield, and this is what Dyla said in response to the question was, I would like to see them believe in themselves a little bit more. And I think that's a big deal he mentioned a couple players, but it's all of them. It's the entire midfield.
I think you could say it's a little bit about the context of the game state, as you will. Uh, Atlanta United was ahead in this game for about, I want to say 40 minutes. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And
goal was about the 25th minute.
Yeah, and it kept pushing and it kept going, as you said. When it didn't really
17th minute. Sorry.
17th minute, and it didn't really have to push as hard to score. It was Dallas that had to go and get the equalizing goal. And then you saw when they did get that goal, they kind of didn't. It's not that they parked the bus, but they sat back a little bit more. They absorbed pressure, and a lot of their chances after that came from kind of thrusting the ball forward, quick transition movements, and that's something that Atlanta, they did that in the NYCFC game, and it worked in their favor. Some of those quick transition movements, and we didn't see that in this game. That might be part of managing that tempo of the game, is figuring out when you have to sit back a little bit, when you have to have more of a soaking the pressure posture and kind of go forward when you really need to. And that may be a smarter use of your energy. Now, takeaway number 3 is about the number 10s. Today we saw Miguel Almiron back at the number 10 spot in place of Alexei Miranchuk, who entered the game questionable but was on the bench. And honestly, I thought he did pretty good in that position. Obviously, I mean, he scored the penalty, but he seemed very creative in that position. He struggled a little bit at some times. He had some moments where, maybe it wasn't ideal. But overall, I think he helped kind of flow the game a little bit more. What did you think of Miggy's performance at the 10 today? And do you think that, if you were given the choice between Alexei Miranchuk and Miguel Almiron, who do you start next Saturday against New England?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I think that having Miggy at the 10 helped the team in their overall, like the front four, their positioning, the overlaps. We saw Shande and Saba swapping sides. We saw Miggy kind of shifting further to the left or right, but having that starting central point, I think, helped set the foundation for the attack. Now, when Alexi came in and Miggy moved to the left, kept Saba on the right. I think I still like that more than what we saw to start the season. I still like Saba on the right, Miggy on the left. They're both on their dominant foot. But Alexi, yeah, do you put him back at the 10? That is the question. And I think he had his moments. He did drop back deeper, I thought, while being at the 10. I mean, that last, 10-minute window of like taking John Day off, and it's just like, who knows what's going on? Just tactics free, frantic pushing forward. And Alexi still had his moments there. And so I think you can still give Alexi freedom at the midfield spot, but do you let him own that spot and just leave either, if you put him at the 8, you leave either Slish or Muyumba there to cover the rest? And it's a bit of a liability, so it's a balance. Um, I think you still have to try it, especially against New England. I think is your time to try it. No offense to New England, but I think next game I'd like to see Miggy still at the 10 and putting Alexi at the 8, and at least for a half. See what happens.
I completely agree with you. And I think I was telling you guys, and I tweeted it during the game too, especially after Dallas equalized. I said, this would be a perfect time to bring Alexei Miranchuk into the game at the number 8, because at that moment it felt like Atlanta was having trouble kind of building forward, getting out of the back. They were a little bit frantic. They would win possession, and then it felt like they were trying to make the hard passes through that midfield, and it just didn't come off. And so you had frequent turnovers, you had some issues there with really getting the ball to your forward players who could then make that attacking threat. And Alexei Miranchuk gives you that long range of passing, and he helps create those switches of play that can really destabilize a team like Dallas, especially when they're all, their press is coming in on you and they're coming onto one side. You can open play onto the other side. Suddenly that creates a very good avenue of attack. And I'm a little disappointed that we didn't see that version of Alexei Miranchuk today. And instead, you had Miguel Almiron shifted over to the left, where I don't think he had a terrible game, but I think his impact was a little lessened, diminished. He did come inside a little bit, almost like an inside forward. So I guess in that sense, it works. I still think that you really don't want Miguel Almiron and Alexei Miranchuk occupying the same spaces. And I think if you have Tristan Muyumba, and I was telling y'all this, going out to the press conference after the game, if you have Tristan Muyumba as a pure ball winner, and then you have Alexei Miranchuk beside him, and all Muyumba has to do is win that ball back. Do what you're doing, because he's doing that very well, being committed in the challenge, winning the balls back, get the ball to Alexei Miranchuk, let him move it forward from there. Because he knows where to find spaces, he finds those pockets of space, and from there, his distribution is phenomenal. Now, Tyler, what do you think about this kind of conundrum? Who starts at the number 10 next time? Were you happy with what you saw from Miguel Almiron today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first half was Miggy in his purest form. Like that's where you want him, right? He has this knack. I mean, and Alexi does to a degree, but I think Alexi just has it in a different way. But Miggy has this knack of receiving the ball, and he's so quick to turn and make a pass, a dangerous through ball. Whereas Alexi, he's again going back to the second point, more of that tempo guy. Let him pace the game a little bit. And I think if you can start Miggy again as the 10 and let Alexi kind of be that slightly deeper midfielder, that 8 or whatever, I think, and tell him, your job, you and Ronnie Dial said it last week, you're the maestro, right? You're the whatever, orchestra leader. What's the word I'm looking for?
Maestro?
Yeah, the other word, but whatever. That guy. No, be the guy that is controlling the tempo of the game. Let your attackers do the job. And a number 8, and I've said this for years, listen to me go on about it. It's one of my pet peeves, but your number 8 should be scoring goals as well. You're not just a midfielder that's there to, kind of be box to box. Like when it's time to attack, it's time to attack. And Atlanta is an attacking team. So get involved in it. But I think Alexi has the patience to, and sometimes slow the game down when he needs to. And I think that should be the message from Dyla. If you start him at the 8, let him control the game. Let him pump the brakes when necessary. Let him, play those balls forward to Miggy, to, whoever out wide, so that you can continue to press and continue to attack. But when you start running out of gas, when you need to stay back a little bit, I think Alexi's the guy that's going to help you kind of be the cohesive unit between the defense and the offense. So, yeah, I would love to see exactly what we saw for the I would say, the final 15 minutes in this match, because you were creating chances, right? Like Jamal Tiara had a ball in, and he was on goal, and it got called back for a questionable foul. So like you had opportunities, because there was that moment between the 60th minute and probably whenever Alexi was subbed on, that it looked really dicey because it was just frantic football. Nobody would take control of the game, and so I think that's where Alexi kind of stands out.
Great. Well, those are our 3 takeaways from Atlanta United's 1-1 draw against FC Dallas. Thank you all for watching.